thinking about it from an entrepreneur's perspective on the infrastructure, you either have to be what we call the air traffic controller, where you have excellent advisors and you're managing those in an effective way, or you have to find someone to take that spot for you to manage those professionals on your behalf.
What you saw was an opportunity in the market to kind of layer your expertise and your broader knowledge over all of these experts. And because you're coordinating all those experts for several people, you find different opportunities that you hear about from them, which then can be applied to everybody else that you represent. Does that sound right?
Absolutely. So I'll give you an example about coordination. So for example, a client buys a home, a primary residence. And the CPA doesn't know until the next year when they get the mortgage interest to take the deduction on the tax return. They didn't even know about that principal residence being purchased. Because we're involved in everything, we know that. And we might say, hey, you might be able to use something called the Augusta rule, which is 280A in the tax code, where you can actually rent your house to anybody for 14 days a year tax-free. But as a business owner, you can rent it to your business for 14 days a year. It's tax deductible to the business, tax-free income to you, and then that can put money in your pocket. But without that coordination, the CPA finds out next year, and even if the CPA knows about the Augusta rule, you're going to miss that tax year and the benefits that you could have had in that year.
Yeah, that's a good one. I know that's one, particularly for people that are doing events at their houses and things like that, right? It makes a lot of sense.
It does. It's an easy one, and it's in the elimination category because you're really eliminating taxation by using your house or your vacation home rather than using the Ritz-Carlton.
So I like, and I mean, but you can't get $200 a gallon coffee at your house. I mean, you're going to have to go to the Ritz-Carlton to get that.
That is true. That's one of the enjoyable benefits about running an event there, of course.
So what are other things that entrepreneurs should be thinking about that you find that they don't?
Well, I'd say that the three main outcomes that entrepreneurs miss that billionaires get right is first, the infrastructure. So having absolute confidence in your team of professionals, that's number one. Number two, maximizing your wealth both inside and outside your company. Often entrepreneurs are really focused on growing their company, but you also want to build wealth outside your company. And then the third piece is having a plan for sustainable wealth, because it's a different skill set to build businesses and make money than it is to manage money and have a plan for sustainable wealth.
Okay, so let's talk about, can you dive into each of those three just a hair more?
Absolutely. So when I talk about infrastructure and having the right team of professionals, often I see entrepreneurs have this thing, I call it a wealth wheel. And so picture a wheel and you've got your advisors around the edge of the wheel. And most entrepreneurs over their lifetime, they're going to pick up an attorney, an accountant, an insurance agent. And it's either because a friend recommended them or they met them at some social event, and they have these different professionals. And when we step in and we look at that wheel, it's usually what I call a financial flat tire. Because guess what? They're not all A players. They're not communicating and collaborating on the entrepreneur's best interest. And the worst part is the entrepreneur's in the middle trying to manage all these relationships when the entrepreneur, number one, doesn't have the time, but also doesn't have the expertise, doesn't speak the languages of tax, legal, insurance, and investment on a regular basis. So what we like to see is make sure they're all A players, and we have a way of vetting them and analyzing those professionals. We don't just say, do you like them and do they return your calls? But there's actually ways you can vet these professionals, and then make sure that they're collaborating, that they're being held accountable for their work and their work product. And then we put ourselves in the middle so that, because we do speak tax, legal, insurance, and investment on a daily basis, to coordinate that. So thinking about it from an entrepreneur's perspective on the infrastructure, you either have to be what we call the air traffic controller, where you have excellent advisors and you're managing those in an effective way, or you have to find someone to take that spot for you to manage those professionals on your behalf.
Cool. And how about the second area?
So maximize your wealth both inside and outside the company. I would like to say that you get rich by being concentrated in a business, but you stay rich by being diversified outside of the business.
Yep.
And it's too often entrepreneurs are waiting for the big exit that doesn't happen or something goes wrong. So while you're building your business, you should be siphoning money off outside your business in really three main areas. real estate, stocks and bonds, and private equity. And depending on what you like, maybe it's all real estate, or maybe like you, Roland, it's all private equity. You're owning businesses. And of course, you're smarter than anyone at buying businesses with no money down. But you have, I mean, how many businesses are you invested in or do you own right now?
36.
Perfect. So you don't own one, you own 36. So you're diversifying outside of your core business, building wealth outside of that. So maximizing inside and outside and making it automated, because if you expect in 10 years, you're going to look back and have all this money outside your business, you have to do it intentionally with a compelling focus and make it automated so it happens even despite yourself.
Absolutely. And then what about the third thing?
Yeah, so having a plan for sustainable wealth. And this first requires understanding what are your values, your goals, and your important relationships. And then you have to have a compelling focus for a path to financial freedom and know what that looks like. Now, you don't have to come up with this on your own. When Arizona was shut down and we couldn't go to the gym, I know a guy, he's a personal trainer, and he said, hey, Jim, I've got a private gym I can get you into, but you have to hire me. You have to work with me as a personal trainer. And I've been working out in the gym for 30 or 35 years, and I've never had a personal trainer. I said, I know how to do this. I don't need a personal trainer, but I had no option. So I hired him. 2 weeks later, I looked back and I realized I had the best workouts I've had in like 10 years. And the reason why is he created a compelling focus for me. I wasn't listening to Business Lunch, which I love to listen to, by the way. I wasn't talking to my buddies in the gym. I was focused on doing what he told me to do. So you can hire people to create a compelling focus and a path to financial freedom, but you've got to actually either hire someone or figure out a way to do it yourself. So that'd be the sustainable wealth piece.